But you win this game, I would feel pretty good about their chances to get the 6 or 7 seed, right? This is a big fucking game Sunday night.
Huge.
This is what we kept talking about. You do not play the Saints. You do not play the Panthers. You've already played the Eagles and you beat them, but they're, they haven't had their bye week, but they're still, 5-6. You control your destiny. You win this game, you're in really, really good shape, guy. And you hit on this last week, and it's true. I don't care if they're 3-50. When you play Seattle at Seattle, if Russell's playing, that game will feel hard. I don't care what their record is. That game's going to feel very difficult. But you win this game at home, which is going to be hard. We've seen how hard it is for the Niners to win this game. You're in pretty good position to get to 9 wins with some tiebreakers. You probably get a playoff bid, But you got to win. Like, you lose this, now you take back all the momentum you just had.
Right.
Plus, it'll feel like, God, why can't you win at home?
Also, it's just a representation of, are you a good team? Are you a playoff team?
I would say this, though, start to finish, like week 1 to where we sit today, Minnesota has been way more consistent than the 49ers. When I watch them, for the most part, they play their game. They've lost a lot of them because of missed field goals, but they have been more consistent. Now, the Niner team we've seen the last 2 weeks, that's the Niner team I think we thought we were getting all season, but that hasn't. Now, if that's the team we're getting moving forward, we're in good shape.
Yeah. I felt that way too, although admittedly I've watched the Niners closer than I've watched anybody else, right? I felt that way too, but it does at a certain point. You lose 5 close games, you go, what are you not doing?
But Minnesota, I think their 5 losses, I bet 4 of them felt pretty close. Right?
Well, absolutely.
They easily could have lost today, in the same fashion. He threw a fucking pick and the guy dropped it. Who do you think's better when I just say Minnesota Vikings, San Francisco 49ers, November 21st? Do you feel confident?
I've trusted Minnesota more this year, but I do think the Niners might be better.
I agree. They should be better. But they do have...
Why? Why should they be better?
I think top to bottom they have better players. And I don't think the difference at quarterback, even though 10 a.m. Kirk is a lot better than normal Kirk. I like 10 a.m. Kirk a lot more than 125 at San Francisco Kirk. But start to finish, he's been much better in the Niners quarterback situation all season. And I think in this individual matchup, you would agree that Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen are very, very tough matchups for the 49ers DBs. Corners specifically.
Extraordinarily difficult. I think they're difficult for them, and thus then they're difficult for the Niners, because the question is, what's more likely to happen? You having to play their game or them having to play your game?
Well, you don't want to get in a shootout, do you?
No, but even if let's say you have a 20-play drive to start the game on them and you score a touchdown. Well, great. They're going to get the ball and they might score in 6 plays. So now what do you do? Another 20-play drive? Those are hard to do.
I
know they've done 2 in 2 weeks, but they're hard to do. At some point, whether you're playing with the lead or playing from behind, they are just going to be firing rockets at you with their guys.
I'm glad Minnesota. We were talking about this coming into the game. I'm glad Minnesota won. This game's big. I'm glad they're 5-5. I'm glad there's a lot on the line. I think we're going to learn a lot about the Niners, right? Because it's like you don't even need. There's not some Newt Rockne speech needed for this game. It's pretty clear what's on the line.
Yeah, I agree, but I would also say what's scary about these are the types of games where you can do things well and still lose on a pick, right? But they might just lose the game.
Yeah, but I'd say this, guy.
Because Minnesota can be really good.
You've lost 4 or 5 games in that situation where a couple of those losses, beside the Arizona loss, came down to a play here, a play there.
Yeah,
if you want to make the playoffs, you need to fucking make that play.
100%. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the margins are thin. Like, a lot of teams lose games and then go through the film and find good things they did. It's really hard to win a bunch of games.
Eventually, in watching the Minnesota game today, they did benefit. Playing at home is a big deal for them. And that's the one thing with the Niners, for whatever reason, they haven't really got the big benefit from playing at home. They've lost a ton of games. They have looked better on the road. I guess beside the Monday night game, which I would even throw out a little bit. It was like their season was on the line, right? That was a kitchen sink game. You go 3, they would have been fucked. It would have been over. And they did, and they threw it. And then they backed it up with another good performance today against a shitty team. And now it's like, okay, now you're just playing an equal, which is going to be fun to watch. This game could be 10-10 at half, right? It's not going to be one of those where they just have a commanding lead. It's like they just need to hold them off. It feels like this thing is going to be... It
depends. If they get a safety and then a pick 6 in the first 4 minutes, it's happened before. But no, I agree with you. I think what's unique about them the Rams game was really the first time they've only beaten one good team this year.
Eagles aren't terrible.
Eagles aren't terrible. Okay. So they beat a not terrible team. Put it this way, they've only beaten one team ahead of them in the standings.
Yeah.
And that was the Rams. Well, I mean, this is part of the, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps theory. Beat somebody ahead of you.
It's a big week.
Don't wait for somebody else to beat Minnesota. You got to beat Minnesota.
You know what's exciting about this week is a defensive head coach who is their defensive play caller, Kyle, and offense who kind of feels like he's, corralled his group and got back into a rhythm. Like, this is from a schematic standpoint. Like, I was thinking today, and I heard this from Michael Lombardi, and I've stolen this, and he's right. The college, for the most part, Urban really separated from everyone, and so is Nick. Nick's a better, I think, schematic coach, but best recruiter in the game. No one recruited better. So Monday through Sunday, he's out recruiting everyone. There is no recruiting once the NFL season. You know what you do? You scheme. Monday through Sunday, you scheme. And you watch Urban today, and you just go like, they didn't even have any curveballs. And obviously Kyle's team is better, but when I think Kyle Shanahan, would he ever work in college? No. Do you think I could never see him on the phone on Wednesday night? You know why? He wants to be nerding out on the whiteboard. He wants to be drawing, like, he's a schemer. That's when I think Kyle Shanahan, I think schematics. When I think Urban Meyer, I think on the phone at Ezekiel Elliott or the Bosa's high school. You couldn't pay Kyle Shanahan to do fucking Lane Kiffin going to Arch's game. He'd
That's
hate
the
that.
thing. Lane's interesting, right? Because Lane seems like he fits in both categories.
Well, and I think Lincoln and Nick, you just have to embrace it if you're going to be in college. Where I think that's the hard part for Urban to make the transition is he's a recruiter, and Kyle's a schemer, and Kyle took him to the woodshed. But, listen,
we're better players.
Zimmer is a polarizing guy, I think, in Minnesota fan land. He's probably going to get fired if they miss the playoffs. But when I think Mike Zimmer, I think defensive schematics. How many defensive head coaches in the NFL are defensive play callers? It's got to be him and Brandon Staley. It's a short list. Mike Tomlin hasn't called plays in his career since he got to Pittsburgh.
Since he was a defensive coordinator for like 2 years, a year or two.
I think it was a year. When's the last time Pete Carroll called? Defensive head coaches go, CEO. Zimmer is a 5-year-old, however old the guy is, with the play sheet in front of his hand.
Yeah.
That's his baby.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes them so unique. It's why on paper I felt like they should be better. Not this year, but just under Mike Zimmer. So you got a really good defensive coach and an explosive offense? How does that not work?
Well, this is the pushback, and this is what's so fascinating about this week. 10 a.m. Cousins is, a Pro Bowler. He put him in some of these different spots. He doesn't look the same. And so when he's not as elite, they're not as good.
He's
now,
just not elite.
Well, they played him, and I was at that game, the playoff game. They fucking destroyed him.
Yeah,
now,
I think
they had Diggs instead of Jefferson.
Well, that's an upgrade. Although Diggs was good in that game.
He had a touchdown, yeah. He was sweet.
Yeah, early, right?
They went. Their one drive was 3 passes. I think it was a completion, a PI, and a touchdown. Boom, 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 touchdown. But that's all they did. I think that was the final. That was all their points.
Cold and Silent says, does Fangio call his own plays?
No, I think they have a defensive coordinator. I think. It's a good question, though. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I guess
he does.
We'll get to this matchup more later in the week, but the flip side of it, right, is that some of the things we talk about with Garoppolo also apply to Cousins. Can he avoid that mistake that he probably can't overcome? The difference is that for a lot of this year, you haven't had Kittle or you haven't had the guys that help you erase things.
They have Jefferson every game, I think.
They got erasers, And here's the other thing, John, like New Orleans, which way are they trending?
Down.
Philly, whatever. Carolina, which way are they trending?
Down.
You've got a couple teams now. We've been saying for a while we think it's 2 spots. Maybe Minnesota's trending up. So maybe, if you don't beat them now, not only are you in a bad place, you might still get some help, and you are still potentially in the playoff race. But now instead of 2 spots, there's 1 probably. Yeah. Right? If Minnesota goes on the road and beats them.
100%. Like whoever loses this game is not out, but you're just in such a better position with the tiebreaker over that team and being 6-5 and giving yourself some wiggle room of, you have 6 games left. All you do is need to go 4-2 in the games. You go 5-6 to get to 10. It's a lot more difficult, right? Can you go 5-1? That's a difficult stretch of football. Now 9-8 may get you in there when all the dust settles, but that's pretty risky. I think this week is enormous for just the last December stretch of 5 games. It gives you some breathing room, or no?
Yeah.
David
says, I think the Saints are in trouble. Look at their remaining schedule.
They're done. I mean, Simeon's, he's not good enough. Just that simple. Honestly, Minnesota, I feel like Minnesota would be more likely to lose this game and still make it than the Niners. Just because the Niners could lose to Seattle. Niners got that Thursday night game to Tennessee. Their schedule's a little weird. Cincinnati, I don't know who's covering Jamar Chase on the Niners.
I would not want to be New Orleans Thursday night, first of all. And then they play the Cowboys, who I guess they both play Thursdays, right? New Orleans and the Cowboys both play Thursday. That game will be at home. That game's in New Orleans. So they got to play the Bills and the Cowboys next. They play the Jets.
You're saying Dallas Cowboys is the following Thursday?
No, I'm saying the Saints and the Cowboys both play Thursday, so they both have extra time. I think they play Sunday night the following week. Cowboys, Saints.
Okay.
Then they play the Jets, then they play the Bucs, then the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Falcons. I mean, I'm with you. It's more about them than it is about that schedule. Them just not being good enough. Minnesota's remaining schedule, after the Niners, they play the Lions, then they play the Steelers, then they play the Bears twice. They also play the Rams and the Packers.
Cowboys Saints is the following Thursday. They did this 2 years ago.
Oh, they're playing back-to-back Thursday games?
Yeah. So the second Thursday is a normal week.
That's weird.
It is.
But, I'm sure the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football is not a bad recipe.
But the Saints lose these next 2 games, I'd say they're fucked. Are they making a run?
And they're not going to be favored, neither one of them.
You go 5-7, you got to win out to go to get to 10 wins. They can't do that, Trevor Siemian.
Minnesota's got some wins left on its schedule too. Lions, Bears twice, Steelers.
Minnesota's even if Minnesota
they look
loses,
like a playoff team. They look like a playoff team. That's what I would say about them.
You could argue both these two teams should be like the 2 playoff spots should go to the Niners and Minnesota. But like you said, you look at the Niners, who they beat beside the Rams, who they just own. You want to feel good about going to the playoffs? You got to start beating some good teams. This would be their best win of the season, given how much is on the line. You've got your mojo back. To beat this team means you have to play well. They have really good players. They have players that you would see in the playoffs, right? Jefferson's elite. Thielen dominates. Dalvin Cook is fucking sweet. Cousins, I mean, he's got his issues, but he's probably better than the quarterback you have. He is. I mean, who's better quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo or Kirk Cousins?
Cousins.
Yeah.
I would just also put it this way: like in any given day, they're likely to have 3 of the top 6 players in any game they play in.
You know Cousins' touchdown to pick ratio this year?
Cousins' touchdown to pick. I'm going to say I don't.
I got to look it up.
Count
it
today?
Look real. Yeah, I'm counting today.
Okay, I'm going to guess. I mean, based on what you just said, that it's 24-4.
I mean, you're close. It's 21-2.
How's that guy? How's this possible?
How's he only thrown 2 interceptions? He got lucky today. Like I bet the PFF guys would say he's 3 or 4 drops. Like that one, he hit Savage in the hands, right? He hit him in the hands.
It would have been It was a tough catch.
Yeah, he was up in the air, but
it
was a pickable ball for
in a moment where you could not have that happen.
Well, he was force feeding his best player that they clearly double teamed, right? I would imagine Savage cheated. Pulled a little Ed Reed, like I'm gonna fake like I'm going, but I'm going over to 18. Because I'll give Cousins credit on this one. He realizes this guy's better than everyone. He force feeds him the ball, right?
Yeah.
It's like when all else fails, he ain't going to Thielen. He's going to Jefferson. And Jefferson, for the most part, goes down with the plays.
Patrick says he's the good baker.